our meeting to order. All rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call. Let it be known that both Commissioners Foster and Turner are here. We also have council members Armbruster, McVeigh, Baker, the mayor. We have our attorney and we have our engineer. Like that one, didn't you?
Everyone's
Did I miss
present.
anybody?
Love it.
Okay, can I get an approval of the agenda for today?
I see that. Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Can I get approval of minutes for the last meeting?
I so move. Second?
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
At this time, we will have public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on anything that is not on the agenda?
Yes.
Can I hear from, is it Monique?
Monique.
Monique. Oh, both of you to speak?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. There you go.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. Hi, everybody. I recognize almost everybody. We were here last week, as everybody knows, that we're wanting to do our U-Haul business. It's right over there. And we are just waiting for an answer, or a yes or a no. I don't know, it just seems like we're, you know, as everybody knows here, the U-Haul business really, it's a leave no trace, there's no development. Our landlord has upgraded the gravel parking lot, which has been zoned as a parking lot since the 1800s, I think. And it's also zoned for court commercial. And so we're just waiting for an answer. We have all kinds of information. I won't go into the details. I'm just generalizing what we're trying to do again. And I appreciate you guys hearing us. And yeah, Monique and I are business owners and very busy people. But we like to do a side deal, which would be the U-Haul business. And we're just waiting here if it's going to be okay or not.
I wanted to bring up a few things. I'm Monique, the wife. So we received a letter stating what things that we have to do to get the U-Haul business. We have the U-Haul business across the street. We were told by Kelly, who's the manager of U-Haul, that we didn't need a permit. Well, apparently we do. So we haven't paid the application fee yet, but we've turned in the site plan, which was required from us, the parking lot layout, stormwater design, access points, lighting, and any additional improvements. We provided the landscape plan, names and addresses of the people that are 300 feet that own businesses, stating that they don't have a problem with the U-Haul business. I know you can't see it from here, but all of the green dots on this is the people who live in Rainier that went to Yelm to get their U-Haul. So that is people who are not paying sales tax. Excuse me, those are people that could be paying taxable income for the city of Rainier. Also, looking at the heavy equipment services when it comes to the code. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Heavy rental services is conditional non-residential zone, which that place is a core commercial, right? It's also, you know, it requires a conditional use permit. And in the conditional use permit, it does say that it allows heavy rental services, which includes motorized vehicle rentals, sales, service, and repair. C, condition use permit required, allow the use that requires conditional use permit to be obtained. Additional use use is generally compatible with character of the zone, but requires individual review of its configuration, depth, and intensity. On and on, but that is chapter 18.44 of non-residential zones. Also, I'll make it quick. It has been a parking lot for about 80 years. It was a dirt lot before Mike had put gravel, which helps with drainage of the rain. So, as everybody knows, there's a lake usually in that four-way stop usually. But that actually helps with drainage instead of having dirt. He cleared it up, re-gravelled it. There's no utilities that will be hooked up. The business is very mobile and temporary. Sometimes you'll see U-Haul trucks there, sometimes you won't.
That's 3 minutes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's, any more questions, please let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you both for coming in, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we have new business. We've got approximately 6 ordinances in front of us, and who's going to lead that off? Is it going to be Bill?
I got the show strong.
There it is, but the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just wish it wasn't. The 6 ordinances that are here are actually not very discretionary on the city. These are changes that are required by state law, that some have been around for a while. A lot of them are recent legislation. There's also some more legislation from this last session that I don't even know if it became effective yet, whether or not it gets funded by June 30th or something like that. So that's not even here yet. Just briefly going through them, ordinance 730 probably isn't going to make much difference to us. It has to do with parking, and it limits the amount of parking that we can require to quite a nominal amount. It doesn't apply in residential zones. It simply applies in commercial and industrial zones. The legislature got pressure from developers because parking is expensive to put in. They don't want to do it. If they don't have to do it, and after they built the building, they go away, and everybody else hassles with where you're going to park to get here. Accessory dwellings and child care centers are now pretty much allowed wherever. Alternate dwelling units probably isn't going to make much difference to us because they still have to have adequate area for on-site septic someplace. So that probably won't make much difference, but child care centers are now going to be pretty much every place. If somebody wants to put them there, we can. Ordinance 732 has to do with creating emergency shelters, ways to keep the bumps off the streets. Ordinance 733, it's kind of a strange thing. It allows you to create additional lot off of a parent lot. And there's some rules about how that's done. Ordinance 734, you can convert commercial structures into residential structures as long as they're 3 years old or more. And ordinance 735 is 50 pages long, and it makes all the little tiny detail changes to all the charts and what have you. The chart that you have that was given to you just recently is more correct than the one that was attached to my memo, because I found an email from Emily from a 3 weeks ago that I hadn't looked at before. I looked at it, and we basically have to allow what most places would call adult family homes, any place that we would allow residential structures. And like it or not, so that has been included in the copy that you have that was passed out particularly discretionary, so if you have questions, I'd be happy to be able to tell you I don't know the answer to.
No, I think, I'm gonna ask one, I'm pretty sure you will, because I think I'm right. Of these are everything that our planners briefed us on what was happening with the state, and we're gonna have to go, and this is what we got.
Probably not all of them, but
As many as we get.
most of them I can find, yeah. Or that they set out for me.
There you go.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
so there you go.
Okay. Do planners have any questions about any of the ordinances? Okay. Need to approve each one as we go?
No, well, how does that work, Bill? Because they're just recommending to council, so now at our
Right,
next.
that's all.
Okay, can I do it as a blanket?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Then I would like to recommend that we approve the 6 ordinances that Bill just described and pass it on as approval to council.
But- And I think this has to go to Commerce, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
After
So,
council, right?
yeah, they'll tell me what I did wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay, old business, I believe it's you, is that correct?
At least one of us. Hi, I'm Emily Terrell. I am the principal of Sound Municipal Consultants. I'm with Don and Great Osborne. We've been working on the comp plan. As we attacked early today, so if I crap out, talk to Don. One thing that the ordinances have to have a 60-day notice of intent to adopt. It goes to the Department of Commerce before the council is allowed to adopt them. The same is true for the comprehensive plan. They've given no discretion really on what you can do with your own code anymore, and also they've made it a very long and bureaucratic process. Sorry. At the end of my little spiel, we'll talk about what's next for the comprehensive plan. The comp plan itself is 150, 200 pages long. My intention is not to go through the nitty-gritty details, but I can answer questions, having written big chunks of it or sitting next to Bruce who wrote other big chunks of it. I plan on doing an extremely short overview, just so you understand what's going on here. Okay, so the comprehensive plan should be the basis for all decision-making in the city when it comes to land use, utilities, transportation, all those sorts of investments. In my experience, most folks don't open it up again until you have to renew it, which is okay too. But the Growth Management Act requires that every fully planning city and town and county is required to adopt a comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is, under the Growth Management Act, a certain number of elements and things that have to be covered. Some are optional, some are mandatory. In this case, for this size city in this place, you have to have a land use section that describes how your zoning works, an environmental section for any critical areas. You have to have housing, and the legislature has made that far more intensive than it used to be. Capital facilities, your equipment, your land, those kinds of things, your utilities, plans for transportation improvements, and then optionally a parks, recreation, and open space plan, but I promised you one when we bid it, so I wrote one. Those are the 8 chapters of your comprehensive plan plus an introduction. And there are also other elements that are required to do, including public participation. This meeting counts as part of that. All of the meetings that we've had with the Planning Commission up to this point count. We also last year launched a survey that had about 50 responses. So in the comprehensive plan, in the land use chapter 2, there's a summary of the survey responses. So you it's a good way, especially for council, to get a read on what folks are, at least the folks that participated, would like to see. We found that the most common things in the word cloud were small town, community, parks. That's what we hear over and over and over again. And that doesn't surprise me. So this is part of a 10-year plan update. It is funded by a Department of Commerce grant that the grant work stops getting paid as of June 30th. So we are at the point now where we have all of the documents in a final draft form. That doesn't mean it's the final draft. If you have comments, if other state agencies or the tribes or special interests like the school district or the utilities, fire, if they have comments, then we can integrate those in still, but you have largely a draft that is ready for review by the Department of Commerce. Commerce has 60 days to review your plan and then come back with comments. In my recent experience, this is the 4th of 5 comp plans that my firm is working on. They take the full 60 days and then they call them preliminary comments. We have, we think, learned through this process so far since our first 3 were due last year, what it is that Commerce is specifically looking for. So we think we're done with most of those questions right now. I should mention too that there are other elements that other places have to do, like climate change. You don't have to do climate change elements here, fortunately. So we have to update several other things as well. Those 6 ordinances you just saw, get your code in compliance with recent changes in the state legislature. Just today, the Department of Commerce sent out the it's a planner's review letter, kind of newsletter kind of a thing, and they have a new tool that has all of the housing legislation that goes back to 2019, some of which is new as of this year already. So fortunately, there is a date certain where you only have to go up to be current with the comprehensive plan. So anything that just came through this legislative session probably will be later. But we have to fill out a 49-page checklist for the Department of Commerce that goes whack by whack and RCW by RCW. Did you meet the following in your comprehensive plan or in your codes? And if not, you'll have to update those things. Those 6 ordinances are your updates. It looks like your critical areas code is probably okay, which is its own humongous thing, so be glad that's not happening. The comprehensive plan has to be compliant with the Growth Management Act, and it also has to be compliant with the Thurston County regional policies. In Puget Sound, we also add Puget Sound Regional Council to that, which is a whole other layer of bureaucracy. Here, at least, we don't have to do that. For purposes of the comp plan, the most controversial part, the hardest part, is that under the Growth Management Act, we are required to comply with what's called the Buildable Lands Report. The Office of Financial Management does population projections by county that go 20 years into the future. Your comp plan is going to be 2025 or 2045. And then they divvy it up by county. Then each county engages in its own unique process as to how to then further divvy that growth into places. In Pierce County, there's a lot of horse trading that goes on. I don't know exactly how Thurston County did it because they did their buildable lands report in 2021 and only projected out to 2040, whereas your comp plan has to go to 2045, so we had to extrapolate a little bit to get there. Once that buildable lands report is finalized, it is set, which means that your target population, your target housing units, and your target employment figures are set. And then we have to create a comprehensive plan that complies with that. Just a second. Like I said, major admin thing today. Sorry. Sorry, and all the way here. In 2020, the city limits had 850 housing units. By 2045, that number has to be 1421, or you need to plan for it. Essentially, what the county is asking this city to do is to grow by 60% in 20 years' time. That is very unlikely given your sewer situation, and yet we have to plan for it as if that's set in stone. All of my other little municipalities are having very similar problems. The town of Wilkeson was expected to grow 140%. And with no historical basis for that whatsoever. And just about every single piece of ground left there is right next to the creek. So there's environmental concerns. In the town of Carbonado, they have no additional water and no way to get any. in the town of South Prairie, they have no additional sewer capacity and don't have the $20.5 million that will require to create a sewer system. So, we must go through the motions to plan for these things, whether or not the development can happen. One of the things that we have to look at is, under your current zoning, is there capacity for that many housing units and that many jobs? And the answer is yes, you do. You have excess capacity of 353 housing units just based on your current zoning, if it can develop to its potential density. It won't, because there's not enough sewer, but if it could. So this could have been a much more involved process. This would have taken a lot longer if we had had to make major changes to the zoning code and the zoning map, but we did not. There is excess capacity in your zones for all the jobs that you are expected to grow by, all the housing you're expected to grow by. So at least, we didn't have to go through and rewrite the entire code. Many cities around are rewriting their entire codes to grow 2 or 3 times the size that they are today. The town I'm living in is Sumner, and we will double or triple, and have now have 8-story apartment block going up. They rezoned my neighborhood, which is a 1920s craftsman neighborhood, 40 feet high and no setbacks at all. My neighbor immediately put up a commercial sign, which is like. So, anyway, also for reference, your 2020 population, according to the U.S. Census, and it's never quite right, was 2,369 people living inside the city. The guesstimate for 2040 is more like 4,377 people, so that's like a fair double. Whether it will happen or not, hard to say. But we have gone through and proven that your zoning is adequate to meet those targets. And we've also made it clear throughout in the land use section, the housing section, and the utility sections that the likelihood of that growth is low because you don't have the infrastructure. The Department of Commerce has absolutely no care when it comes to not having the infrastructure. There is no off mechanism for those folks. You can't say we're full. You can't say we've met our capacities. They don't care. And when I brought it up, they asked about the state of my mental health. Literally. That's okay. I used to like those guys. So that's where we're at. And just like your attorney said, there's not a whole lot left in terms of what we can say as far as our discretion as to how we want to grow, especially in the smaller, more rural, and or more conservative places. There's just not a lot of concern about that. The way that the state looks at this, especially the legislature, is we are growing and growing fast, and we must accommodate for that growth. So we have to set goals and policies that meet the Growth Management Act, all the housing requirements, and also provide nods throughout the plan to climate change and social justice issues. Whether or not that changes at the federal level, as it obviously has changed at the federal level, the state of Washington has assured us planners that don't worry, we'll continue to do the good work of climate change, social justice, DEI, the whole thing. So throughout your plan, if you look through the goals and policies, there are a lot of goals and policies in there that are talking about racially disparate impacts and affordable housing and protection of the environment. Protection of the environment is never a bad idea. Having some place for your kids to live, your grandparents to live, and every member of society to live makes sense. But when you see some of these goals and policies, if you ask yourself, where did that come from? The answer is it came directly out of the legislative intent in the last 5 or 6 years. That is a difference in the current grouping of comp plans than what you had previously. We also have to plan now for all segments of society, and that means from homeless shelters up to about 120% of the area median income. There is a tool that the Department of Commerce has put together that takes those housing allocations and then further breaks them down into income group. So for Rainier specifically, in the 0 to 30% of area median income, so basically no income or extremely low income. They're wanting you to plan for 150 units that handle folks that are making very, very little money on a household basis. Some of that has to it needs to be planned for in permanent supportive housing. Some of it's non-permanent supportive housing. Differences toward Section 8 versus something that's more assisted, more wraparound social services. None of the smaller cities and towns that I've worked with have any social service base really. I don't know how to get there. But part of what you've done is just now forwarded some ordinances that allow for the adoption of that language to make sure that those types of housing are allowable in all residential zones. But also there's an understanding that in terms of barriers, the barriers are often institutional. There's not enough money. In many places there's not transit, there aren't jobs. There's not, in the smaller towns, there's no groceries, there's no medical, there's really nothing. There's not much in the way of economic development. So the state understands that what you're doing is making room for, encouraging, and then being willing to work with other agencies, housing authorities that come at the county level or the state level or private enterprises. So you guys are in this strange bell curve where you don't actually need any more housing if it's at the 30 to 50% area median income level at all. Trailer park, probably. But so you need to make room for 150 housing units for people who make less than 30% of AMI, and then the next jump is 50 to 80%, where the next highest number is 161. And another 103 housing units in the 80 to 100% AMI. They also want to see 11 emergency shelter beds. For a lot of my smaller towns, that means roll-up cots at the fire department. In the event that there is some kind of environmental disaster, essentially big floods or earthquakes or that sort of thing, that there's some capacity to take people that need space. In larger municipalities, that's actual homeless shelters that are run as homeless shelters. Okay, so that is the basics. That's the big heavy hitter items that are the most controversial. You have to take on a lot of growth and it has to be very inclusive. Other than that, a lot of it is just kind of steady in terms of where you already are, because your zoning allows for such incredible density and diversity already. It's actually one of the most progressive zoning codes that I've seen, especially for a smaller city. So you have no need to go in and rezone. The ordinances that your attorney brought forth really do bring you current now, and that's a very good thing. So I am responsible for understanding the land use, the environmental, the housing. I wrote the parks element. We did the public participation. Gray and Osborne worked on capital facilities, utilities, and transportation elements. And if you have questions, we are happy to try to answer them. But otherwise, I didn't want to give you this 3-hour presentation. We really what you want to know is, are we going to be compliant? Yeah.
Anyone have questions? Nope. Well, we appreciate it.
Well, let me tell you the schedule then, since there's a schedule here. One of the things we have to do is a State Environmental Policy Act analysis. So you have to do a SEPA review. Essentially, we have put together a checklist of all the various elements. There are 14 things that the state looks at: aesthetics, community, wetlands, air, all manner of things. We put together a checklist for you. Your SEPA responsible official can issue a determination. We're expecting that it will probably be a determination of non-significant impact, because you don't have to change any of your zoning and you already can kind of meet it. And that any other project that you work on that might be part of a capital facilities plan or transportation plan will have its own project SEPA. So we're okay with a non-project. It's good. So we need to issue the SEPA. Then we also need to send all of this stuff to the Department of Ecology. That's the SEPA. They then essentially make it available on their database to all of the other state agencies agencies, tribes, special purpose districts, and everybody else who can make comment. I have found so far that nobody's made any comment on the comp plans that I've been working on. That doesn't mean that they might not. Generally, if you're less than about 25,000, I think you get under the radar. And then we need to send the whole package of information, findings of facts that we've met the requirements for public participation. We did the things that we're supposed to do. We're compliant with the Department of Commerce's huge checklist, and also the critical areas ordinance checklist. All those things need to be sent along with a 60-day notice of intent to adopt to the Department of Commerce, and that starts their review cycle. They get that 60 days, and then you can adopt. The earliest you could probably adopt is the September meeting. But otherwise, it's just a matter of sitting there and waiting for Commerce to get done with our review and make comments back to you. It also should be sent to the county, obviously, so they probably are interested. That's your schedule. You probably can't adopt until September. It's not actually due until December 31st, so you're well ahead of the curve on that, and all the documents are ready to add the final dates and just go forward other than that.
So to clarify, 60 days after we submit,
Yes.
we can pass at council.
Yes.
So let's just say we submit June 30th, August 30th, so September council,
Yep.
it'll be before you guys. in
Now,
September.
if they make comments, we might have to address the comments. I don't know your reviewer. I know the Pierce County reviewers, but I don't know the Thurston County reviewers. So if there are comments, then we'll have to address those comments. And then add those comments as part of the exhibits for the ordinance. The ordinance itself has the checklist attached to them, the draft comprehensive plan, and it would also add any public comments and the city's response to those comments. It would just be a matrix that we would put together. I don't know if we get any comments back or not. We've certainly tried to learn from the last round of comp plans and try to anticipate what those questions might be and answer them beforehand.
Should the public hearings take place prior to that September meeting?
At the very least, you should have a public comment period. You could do it, and if nobody says anything, then adopt it the same meeting as a matter of open business. You could do it that way.
Okay.
But you have until December 31st before you're late, and even then, they've been giving basically the whole of Puget Sound an extra year to get these things done, because it was a lot of work. They didn't used to ask for development ordinances as part of it. They didn't used to ask for critical areas as part of it. That used to be separate with separate grant cycles. Now they just pushed them all together. So, not shockingly, the vast majority of the Puget Sound went, we're trying. I've got a couple of hangovers myself that will be done by the end of this year, but they gave everybody about a year.
I have a question. So the ordinances that we just passed on to council to approve, they have to go to Congress before council can approve them. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
So,
Any land use ordinance is supposed to go to Congress for review with a notice of intent to adopt, give them the opportunity to make a comment, and then once you adopt it, you have to send a notice that we get it up. We're gonna, we waited, we didn't.
so when we send them to council, do they have, at their next meeting, they approve to send them to Congress, or does she send them to Congress now, knowing that they're gonna eventually approve, because they're really not gonna be able to do it at the next meeting? How's it
The
work?
second one.
The second, so Tammy will send it where it's gotta go, council knows it when it finally gets there, they're okay to approve.
Right, and we're working on that together, because the state has a central portal called Secure Access Washington. And for the home of Microsoft, it's just terrible. But each and every state agency has essentially its own web page that is linked to that. So we need to see, I'm sure Department of Revenue and state, regular thing, but ecology and commerce you might have to get. They have to give you permission and then assign in. But I've done this a lot of times, so it's just a matter of getting those things and then we get them out together.
I put July 8th as the passage date, it was just wishful thinking on my part.
Sorry. It's more like.
More like October, maybe.
Yeah, well, September maybe. I mean, you can do them all as one suite. You can do the comp plan, all those. You can change the ordinances at any time, but the comp plan has to show compliance and say that those ordinances are either done or will be done in time. I told you, they've really added a lot of hoops in the last several years.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Does council and commissioners have any questions of anybody for anything? None? We're done?
Dawn, did you have anything to add on your chapters? Pretty basic.
Nope,
I like the
took the non-controversial part.
Love it.
Jim, you have anything?
part with the best, like, tables.
Okay. At this point, I ask for motion to adjourn.
I still move.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are hereby done.